Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have swatches for you from the Body and Soul collection from China Glaze. So this is a set of 8 nude with a twist shades. So in the description box below I will link the China Glaze site, I will link their Instagram page, and I will link my Instagram page where you can see more swatches of everything from this collection. So like I said, we have 8 shades to look at today, and let's go ahead and get started. So first we have Beach Buff, and this is a rosy tinted neutral shade, and it does have silver little tiny itty bitty micro glitter. So here's our first coat of Beach Buff. So this actually covers pretty well in the first coat, considering it is the lightest shade that we're looking at today. Formula on it is really good too, not too thick, not too thin, very smooth and easy to apply, and I am definitely getting used to the wider China Glaze brushes. I was struggling with them at first, but I like them a lot more now. So here's our second coat, and that does cover completely in 2 coats for me. Depending on your application, you may want to go in for a third coat of this. This is going to dry down a little bit dull, so you will want a glossy top coat to finish this off, but nothing in here is going to dry textured, and nothing in here is going to be difficult to remove. So there is 2 coats. So up next we have Skinny Tipping, and this is a peachy orangey nude shade, and it does have a pink shimmer. So here's our first coat of Skinny Tipping. So this also covers pretty well here in this first coat. The problem with this one isn't opacity as much as it is patchiness. I definitely feel like depending on your application you may want to do 3 coats of this. I am going to show you 3 coats today, but you might be able to get away with 2. I don't know. Formula on this one is a little bit on the thinner side. It will run and pull if you work in too thick of a coat. So you can see it's pretty close to good on 2 coats, so you might be able to get away with 2. I'm going to show you 3 though, because I am super picky. This one also dries decently glossy on its own. You will want a top coat if you want it to last any length of time though. So here's our third coat, and that does cover completely in 3 coats for me. The little shimmer that's in here actually stands out really nicely. I didn't think I was going to be able to see it as much as I did, and nothing in here is going to be difficult to remove either. So there is 3 coats. Up next we have Tan Dew Attitude, and this is a golden tan micro glitter. Here's our first coat of Tan Dew Attitude. So this one is very sheer here on this first coat. Formula is also a little bit on the thinner side. If you work too thickly, you might get some running and pulling. I would just recommend building this up with thinner coats. As you can see though, the shimmer that's in here is extremely strong. So here's our second coat, and that's starting to build up in 2 coats, but I am going to go in for a third coat because I don't have full opacity. This is one though that I had a really hard time across my nails getting even application, so some nails looked pretty much okay in 2 coats, and some nails I felt like could have benefited from a 4th coat. So like I said, this one pretty much covers completely in 3 coats if I was more consistent with my coats across my nails. This one's going to dry glossy on its own. A top coat will help with longevity, and nothing in here is going to dry textured or be difficult to remove. So there is 3 coats. Up next we have Beaches and Toes, and this is a taupe base with a little tiny holographic fleck. So here is our first coat of Beaches and Toes. This one is also very sheer here on this first coat. Formula is just like the previous one where it's a little bit on the thinner side. If you did too thick of a coat, you might get some running and pulling. So I would recommend just building it up with thinner coats. So here's our second coat, and that's building up well in 2 coats, not completely opaque though, so I am going to go in for a third coat. I do feel like this one though across the board was consistent with no matter how thick or thin I did my coats that I needed 3 coats. This one is going to dry slightly textured, nothing like a glitter, just like an odd kind of, you definitely need a top coat kind of texture. So this one is completely opaque in 3 coats. Nothing in here is going to be difficult to remove. It does take a little bit of scrubbing, but it's not like a glitter where you're going to be picking at it. So there is 3 coats. Next up we have Copper-tunist, and this is a brown with a copper shimmer. Here's our first coat of Copper-tunist. So this one is pretty sheer on the first coat also. Formula is pretty good. Again, a little bit on the thinner side. Again, it's that thinness where if you do too thick of a coat, you might get some running and pulling. To avoid that, I would definitely just recommend working in the thinner coats. So here is our second coat. That's building up well in 2 coats, not completely opaque again, so I am going to go in for a third coat. This one does have some brush strokes when it's wet. When it's dry, those do primarily go away. This one is also going to dry down a little bit dull, so you will want a glossy top coat to finish this off. So here is our third coat, and that does cover completely in 3 coats for me. This one is also going to dry to that kind of like metallic-y finish. I think it's a really cute look for shimmers like this, but nothing in here is going to be difficult to remove. So there is 3 coats. Next up we have Glowworthy, and this is a golden brown with a holographic. So here's our first coat of Glowworthy. So this one is a little bit sheer here on this first coat. Formula is good though, it's not too thick or too thin. If you work in thicker coats though, you might get some running and pulling, but this one doesn't feel like it wants to run down the sides of my nails. So here's our second coat, and that does cover completely in 2 coats for me. Depending on your application, you may want to go in for a third coat. This one is also going to dry down dull and slightly textured, so you will want a glossy top coat to finish this off, and these holographic glitters do want to stick to your nails some, so just bear that in mind. So there is 2 coats. Up next we have Bronze Ambition, and this is a chocolate base with a golden shimmer. So here's our first coat of Bronze Ambition. So this one does cover pretty well here in this first coat. It's obviously not completely opaque, so I am going to go in for a second coat. Formula on this one is again smooth and easy to work with. It's not too thick or too thin, but it's definitely another one where I feel like if you worked in too thick of a coat, you might get some running and pulling. So the shimmer that's in this one also stands out really, really nicely, much nicer than I expected. So here's our second coat, and that does cover completely in 2 coats for me. This one's going to dry decently glossy on its own. You will want a top coat for longevity, but nothing in here is going to stick to your nails and be difficult to remove. So there is 2 coats. And lastly for today we have Send Hues, and this is a dark brown base, but it does have like a purple tint to it, and this has a golden micro glitter all throughout it. And here's our first coat of Send Hues. So this one is a little bit sheer here on this first coat. It's not too bad. Formula on this one is, again, it's easy to work with if you work in the thinner coats. If you work in too thick of a coat, you might again get that running and pulling down the sides of your nails into your cuticle area. So here is our second coat, and that does cover completely in 2 coats for me. Depending on your application, you may want to go in for a third coat. This one is definitely going to dry down pretty textured, so you will want a glossy top coat if you don't like that finish, and it's definitely going to be a little bit difficult to remove. I would recommend a peel-off base coat if you don't like removing glitter. So there's 2 coats. So the immediate standout for me is Beaches and Toes. I think this is so cute on the nail. This is a very nice like office shade, but it does have the holographic in there, so it makes it like extra special if you go outside or anything. It does take about 3 coats to build up to opacity, but I think it's entirely worth it. This is so stunning. So Beaches and Toes is my favorite. And guys, that is it. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this collection. Let me know if you plan on picking any of them up, and let me know what your favorite was. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, and I will talk to you again next time.